um, it seemed like whoever wrote the book was really out to get Diddy and didn't care about the means of getting him. They're painting him the monster that he may be. But to disrespect Kim and what she did as a mother,
not
who
cool.
She was as a mother, I don't think that was right.
Nah, that wasn't cool.
I think she deserved better.
Yeah.
If he did increase his security, he have every right to. And I believe that Al knows that Puff has some powerful people or had some powerful people around him and some people doing some things for him that could danger his life. His life could be in danger.
How you feel about Puffy performing that at the BET Awards and dedicating it to Kim Porter?
Your dog, all that was propaganda, man. You know what I'm saying? Puff did what he normally do. He gonna make the people, whatever, goes for the people's heart and what they feel. You gotta look at the dude's actions, man. His actions when Kim was alive.
Kim was who Kim was. And then if he ever tried to forget her, all he had to do is look at his wrist.
What you mean by that when you say that, Kim Porter gave Puffy a scar?
When they were at home at Kim's house on 110th Street, he wanted to, put his hands on her in the wrong way. And Kim took one of those corkscrews and ripped his wrist up and hit an artery. I know Kim got tired. That's why she took that corkscrew and ripped his damn arm out. Tried to rip his arm off for putting his hands on him. I know she was tired. Them pillow fights and that smothering her with the pillows and all that, like he playing with her.
What if Kim Porter's demise wasn't the tragedy we were told, but the key to unlocking hip-hop's darkest secret? For years, whispers of cover-ups, missing evidence, and insiders speaking out have haunted the industry. Tonight, we dive into Gene Deal's revelations, Jaguar Wright's bombshells, and testimonies that point to something far more sinister than pneumonia. Stay tuned until the end, because what we uncover might just rewrite everything you thought you knew about Diddy, Kim Porter, and the industry itself. Gene Deal once asked the question Hollywood fears the most. If Kim Porter's body were dug up, who would get hurt? The answer is everyone. Kim wasn't taken by pneumonia. She was eliminated to protect secrets so dark that powerful people staged her demise to look natural. The same mistreatment that almost destroyed Cassie did take Kim's life. But this wasn't just about silencing her voice. It was about protecting an empire.
Trafficking investigation.
Now, when you get niggas from the street that need that job, they're going to allow him to do whatever he want to do. Because he can fire them in a minute, and the only job they will be getting, they won't be in the music industry. It was some security that helped Cassie before, when Bad Boy security just watched Puff beating her. I could only imagine what he may have thought his own daughter went through. Kim has some things that happened to her over the years, broken nose, bruises, ankle injuries. A lot of things happened to Kim that she never explained to her father. So to see that girl take that beating like that, her father probably thought within himself, that's some of the things that happened to my daughter. With Kim. They say, yo, Gene, did you see him beat Kim? I said, on that particular case, no. Have I seen him rough Kim up and use the pillow? He liked to play fight and be hurting the girls while he play fight. Puff main girl. And Puff main girl has always been Kim. I don't care whoever else he had. J-Lo, Tracy, Stacy, Chrissy, Kathy, whoever he ever had, Kim was always his main girl. And I don't remember going up in the club, getting Kim out of there with Sean being there.
because we had to go to a couple of clubs to get Kim out of there, even when he was dating J-Lo. We had to go up into a couple clubs and get her out of there or make whoever was with her feel kind of uncomfortable.
Insiders claim Diddy has been spreading HIV for decades through forced encounters. That's why no real autopsy was ever done. If Kim's body had been examined, it could have exposed biological warfare hidden inside the entertainment world. Her passing isn't just a tragedy, it's the cover-up of a system built on infected blood and buried truths. And tonight we're digging into why Kim Porter had to pass away and who else could be next.
Records, they were all writing tell-all books. Andre was writing a book right before he. Heavy D was working on a book before he. Kim Porter was working on a book before she. I'll Be Sure was working on the documentary of his life. And then he goes into a coma. Has Puffy ever been in a coma? Has anything happened to him? He must be the lucky.
To understand her demise, you have to know how she lived. Kim was trapped in a cycle that started long before her final breath. She tried to walk away, but Diddy always pulled her back. In public, she once said she ended their on and off relationship for the good of her family. But behind the headlines, the story was darker. Witnesses recall her desperation. One said she grew so tired of the maltreatment that she once grabbed a corkscrew to fight him off after being attacked. There were also other moments where he would smother her with pillows, pretending it was a game, leaving her exhausted and broken.
Kim was who Kim was. And then if he ever tried to forget her, all he had to do is look at his wrist.
What you mean by that when you say that, Kim Porter gave Puffy a scar?
When they were at home at Kim's house on 110th Street, he wanted to, put his hands on her in the wrong way. And Kim took one of those corkscrews and ripped his wrist up. And hit an artery. And when she did that, he had to rush over to St. Luke's Hospital. I met him over there to the hospital. It was me, him, and Kim in the hospital when he was bleeding like crazy. And that was the beginning of him. And that's the first thing I knew about people getting hooked on opioids. You know what I'm saying? And that was from that accident. Oh, that was from the incident with him and Kim. When she wasn't taking that, she wasn't going to take that action, and she got him off of him the best way she could.
Gene Deal explained it best. Kim wasn't just physically tired, she was spiritually drained from years of harshness. This wasn't random outbursts, it was a deliberate cycle. She'd try to leave, he'd turn up the mistreatment, then use her fear to keep her in line, and it didn't stop at dangerous attacks. Diddy controlled her relationships too. Insiders revealed that while he was free to do whatever he wanted, Kim couldn't be with anyone unless he approved. She wasn't just a partner, she was a pawn he used to maintain power.
Came back downstairs, he was heated. He said, yo, Gene, I got 126 employees, and these people depend on me for their livelihoods. If these white folks thought or they would think that I had anything to do with any kind of good, they wasn't gonna and they not gonna. He said, I'm a businessman. I'm about making money, but something gotta change. I don't give if Pac gotta, Big gotta, or Suge Knight go to jail. Something's gotta change. And he took upstairs, he turned around and walked back upstairs. And it didn't dawn on me what he said. And then my man looked at me and Bun was like, yo, that said Big.
Kim's entrapment wasn't only emotional, it was financial. She wasn't just Diddy's girlfriend, she was a bargaining chip. He allegedly used her presence to close deals, pulling her into meetings with business partners as part of the package. Every major contract seemed to involve her, which made escaping nearly impossible. Kim wasn't only a victim of maltreatment, she was exploited, forced into situations that secured his empire while she paid the price. When she passed, the investigation wasn't just sloppy, it looked sabotage. Gene Deal pointed out how her demise wasn't investigated at all, leaving her family without answers.
Kim wasn't even investigated, bro. Her death wasn't even investigated. And it should have been a proper investigation so all the family members can feel like that there was no foul play in her death? How is it that you know how we are as a people? I don't believe that 10% of your viewers that's watching this don't keep their phone when they go to sleep in arm reach. How is it that there was no electronic products or gadgets around Kim's bed? Her laptop missing, her cell phone's missing. Everything is missing that she could get in touch with her little girls if they not at home or her friends or family.
He noted how every electronic device she owned, her laptop, her phones, were missing, as if someone wiped away anything she could have used to reach her loved ones. Even worse, detectives never even viewed her body where she passed away. The coroner had already removed her, declared no foul play, and closed the book before it was ever opened.
Yesterday that Kim Porter's book is being published. It's a 60-page book entitled Kim's Lost Words. It claims to be a collection of the diaries of Kim Porter, the mother of Diddy's children, and it was leaked by her friends. Now, the person who's publishing it is saying that he received a thumbnail from one of the friends who was very scared, and it is heavily implied they believe that Diddy had something to do with her. In the book, Porter allegedly recounts discovering and making copies of the tapes that Diddy made of himself, young boys that he was managing, including an alleged tape involving an 18-year-old pop star who went on to become a household name.
That alone should have been enough to reopen the case. And then came another bizarre detail. Records showed Kim supposedly received a massage for nearly an hour the same day she had full-blown pneumonia. Deal asked the obvious: who gives a massage to someone with pneumonia? And why use oils that could worsen her condition? Layer by layer, the conspiracy became clearer. The coroner moved her body early, declared no foul play, ignored the missing electronics, and brushed off the massage detail. This wasn't incompetence, it was professional evidence destruction. Someone powerful wanted her passing to look natural while making sure nothing contradicted the pneumonia story. And then came the police report. It mentioned Dallas Austin's daughter, a close friend of Kim, leaving her house at 8:15 that morning. The same report confirmed Kim had called 911 at 2:15 a.m., but what she said during that call remains a mystery. According to Kim's father, that young woman was the last person to see Kim alive. The revelation is chilling. That witness never gave a statement, never cleared up rumors, never spoke to the public. The only explanations? Either fear of retaliation or direct involvement. Because when the one person who could have provided the truth stays silent for years, it's not about privacy, it's about survival. But Gene Deal's suspicions weren't standing alone for long. They were backed up by another insider, Jaguar Wright, who through her own industry network reached the exact same chilling conclusion about Kim's passing. In an interview, when asked directly if Diddy had anything to do with Kim Porter's passing, Jaguar didn't hesitate. She said it was absolutely true, explaining that Kim had too much on him to be allowed to live. She wasn't just another partner, she was holding evidence that could destroy him, from videotapes to unfinished chapters of her memoir, even blackmail material that Kim had used to protect herself. Jaguar even recalled overhearing Kim talking about these secrets with the others in the industry, which made her certainty all the more convincing.
Kim from pneumonia, but there's the first coroner's report that said it was ruled a homicide and they found toxins in her body to prove that she had been poisoned. You know, they have poisons that create heart attack and pneumonia-like symptoms. Then right after that, Al had a meeting, and I was survivors and the late of Uptown Records. They were all writing tell-all books. Andre was writing a book right before he. Heavy D was working on a book before he. Kim Porter was working on a book before she. I'll be sure was working on the documentary of his life. And then he goes into a coma. Has Puffy ever been in a coma? Has anything happened to him? He must be the luckiest mother. Seems like everybody that worked at Uptown Records from the very beginning. Gone. Just him.
Her claim was crystal clear. Diddy had Kim eliminated because she had enough proof to lock him up forever. This wasn't wild gossip, it was corroboration. Two insiders with different sources and different experiences, landing on the exact same conclusion, turning what looks like conspiracy into testimony that's almost impossible to ignore. When two separate voices echo the same dark truth, people start paying attention. Jaguar's knowledge dug even deeper. She admitted she knew people who still had pieces of Kim's book, fragments of her truth that survived even after her demise. The tragedy, Jaguar explained, was that Kim's fear was so overwhelming she never truly knew who she could trust. That paranoia wasn't just hers, it was something everyone in the industry lived with, a culture of silence and suspicion. It explains why she spread copies of her work to multiple people, trying to make sure her truth would outlive her. According to
it seemed like whoever wrote the book was really out to get Diddy and didn't care about the means of getting him. They painted him the monster that he may be. But to disrespect Kim and what she did as a mother,
not
who
cool.
she was as a mother, I don't think that was right.
No, that wasn't cool.
I think she deserved better.
Yes.
The Diddy case, which follows another explosive development yesterday. Now, let me tell you, it's been long suspected since it happened, since she, I would say, rather mysterious circumstances, that Diddy had something to do with the death of his ex-partner and the mother to his children, a woman named Kim Porter. Now, what happened was she mysteriously died of pneumonia at the age of 47. Not the typical way that a 47-year-old goes out, especially just when they are about to publish a tell-all book on their very famous ex, Diddy. But that's what happened to Kim. She died of pneumonia at the age of 47 years old. Well, guess what? It was just announced yesterday that Kim...
According to Jaguar, some of those chapters were intercepted and even altered by bad actors, not to erase them, but to twist them just enough to create doubt in a courtroom. It was, as she described, a smart play. That way, if the evidence ever came out, it could still be attacked as unreliable. But the original chapters, she insisted, are still out there with people she knows personally. What makes this more disturbing is the timing. Right after her passing, Kim had been comparing notes with Cassie, trading details about their eerily similar experiences of maltreatment and control. Diddy's paranoia was growing as he realized two of the women closest to him were lining up their stories. Then suddenly Kim was gone. That timing makes her so-called natural demise look less like tragedy and more like a calculated assassination to stop her from putting the pieces together.
But guess what? Kim finds out while she's pregnant that Diddy is expecting a baby with a woman named Sarah Chapman, who he calls his friend. This is how incestuous the industry is. Sarah used to date Tupac. Okay, let that marinate. So in July 2006, his daughter Chance is born. Just 5 months later, in December 2006, Kim gives birth to the twins, Jesse James and Delilah. And apparently, Kim had enough. They broke up after this, but of course, they're all one big happy family. And not long after, Diddy and Cassie began to date. We all know what happened and how abusive that situation was. Fast forward to the end of 2018, and Kim Porter passes away from pneumonia at the age of 47. Shortly after she passes, Cassie and Diddy break up. And then after all of that, he had a baby with Dana Tran named Baby Love. But what I'm saying is, if this was a true book, I want to hear it from Kimora Lee Simmons. I don't believe Kim Porter wrote this. I think we're putting money in this man's pocket. I think it's disgusting. I wish we could know her true story, and I hope that one day the truth comes to light. But this man's book on Amazon, I don't think this is it.
And Jaguar's most devastating revelation tied everything together. She claimed that the very first coroner's report actually ruled Kim Porter's passing a homicide, saying toxins were found in her body proving she had been poisoned. If that report was accurate, it means this wasn't speculation at all. It was cold, documented evidence that someone worked very hard to bury. Kim Porter's demise wasn't just an act of revenge. It was part of a bigger program meant to silence witnesses, hiding their eliminations behind the excuse of natural causes. The technique used on her becomes clearer when you look at the testimony of Big Homie CC, who described firsthand how Diddy allegedly poisoned people using the exact same method on multiple victims. Big Homie even claimed Jamie Foxx was one of them, saying Foxx reported Diddy to the FBI after being poisoned. He added that he himself had been poisoned several times, once testing positive for cyanide after attending Diddy's parties, and later developing pneumonia-like symptoms eerily similar to Kim's. He talked about losing a lung, suffering repeated bouts of pneumonia, and knowing others who were poisoned in the same way. His testimony makes one devastating connection. Kim was allegedly poisoned with the very same method.
How you feel about Puffy performing that at the BET Awards and dedicating it to Kim Porter?
Your dog, all that was propaganda, man. You know what I'm saying? Puff did what he normally do. He gonna make the people, whatever, goes for the people's heart and what they feel, You got to look at the dude's actions, man. His actions when Kim was alive. He was with every chick, every dude, whoever he wanted to be with, you know, when Kim was alive, praying with them, doing whatever he had to do to be with them. And then as soon as she dead, you know, and we don't want nobody, none of our loved ones or people that we deal with ever to go, you know, he used that as a tool to get to everybody's heart, you know, because who Kim was. Everything that he thought that could get to the people's heart, he put up there in that show. And it was a bunch of bull. He probably don't mean none of it.
But perhaps the most heartbreaking account comes from Al B. Sure, Kim's first love, who had witnessed her desperate attempts to break free and nearly lost his own life trying to reveal the truth. He remembered being mocked and dismissed for years whenever he tried to speak up, even by law enforcement. But he never gave up. Al B. Sure said Kim constantly warned him to watch his back because of Diddy, though at the time he didn't understand how real those warnings were.
About Al B. Sure increasing his security?
You know, I spoke to Al a couple of times, and he texted me a couple of times too. I think knowing the history of them two, if he did increase his security, he have every right to. And I believe that Al knows that Puff has some powerful people or had some powerful people around him and some people doing some things for him that could danger his life.
When asked if he believed Kim had perished from pneumonia, his response was immediate. Absolutely not. He explained that Kim had been in perfect health. In fact, they had just been celebrating their son's Netflix Christmas special together. She was glowing, smiling, and surrounded by her family, with no sign of illness whatsoever. To him, the sudden news of her passing wasn't just shocking, it was impossible to believe.
I don't think nobody would be paying for some security if they didn't think their life was in danger. So I could see Al doing that. I understand why Al is doing that. And I just wish them all the luck. You got to realize, man, Kim wasn't even investigated, bro. Her death wasn't even investigated.
Al B. Sure admitted he had tried for years to tell his side, but networks pressured him to stay silent. Still, he felt like he had no choice but to speak, because his life and Kim's were too closely tied to stay quiet. His testimony painted a devastating picture of Kim begging him for help, trying to contact authorities because Diddy had complete control over her. She had been suffering from infections linked to the forced swinger lifestyle she was pushed into, but nobody believed him. And when he attempted to create a documentary to expose what really happened, Diddy allegedly retaliated by putting him in a coma. Even after...
With the last time you were on the couch, you had mentioned, and it's crazy that you say these things, you talk about Bad Boy, you speak on Heavy D, you speak on Al B. Sure.
Yeah.
And you say, like, look who's standing. And now Al B. Sure is now, he's being cryptic. Not too cryptic, but he's
very cryptic.
He's very cryptic. But
he's speaking louder than he's ever spoken before.
Ever.
And the reason why he's cryptic is for the sake of his son. Imagine having an enemy that has a position of influence in your child's life and knowing that that person sends you notes and messages every now and then. If you don't do this, if you don't do that, that boy is
coma.
Allegedly.
Even after waking from that coma, Al B. Sure didn't use his story to chase clout. He kept speaking out because he wanted justice for Kim. His persistence gave her story weight at the time, when most people were too afraid to speak. Meanwhile, Gene Deal, who had watched the cover-up unfold in real time, kept pointing to one detail that tied it all together: the missing autopsy. According to him, hiding that medical evidence was the only way to keep the truth buried forever.
That the detectives did not even view the body in the bed where she died at. That the coroner had already removed her, pronounced her dead, and told the detectives that it was no foul play. And if that is true, as I've heard it, and we've read certain things on the internet about it, that case needs to be reopened. We know that Kim
And it's in the this is in the documentation. Shout out to paperwork. At the paperwork part, I gotta shout him out, man, because he looked in the paperwork and it said Kim received a massage.
Gene Deal's repeated focus on the autopsy shows just how important it really was. According to him, either no proper autopsy was ever done, or it was deliberately incomplete to cover up signs of poisoning and HIV-related complications. Even from behind bars, Diddy's attempts to silence the story continued. Deal remembered someone reaching out on Diddy's behalf with the chilling message, "Enough is enough." His response was firm: "Tell that to the survivors, not to the people demanding the truth."
He looked in the paperwork and it said Kim received a massage for about an hour when she's supposed to have full-blown pneumonia. Who gives somebody a massage when they got pneumonia? And do we know whether she used that baby oil or not for that massage? It makes you say, that's a big man. You got to understand, man, that it's a lot of stuff that has been happening.
That kind of pressure proves why Kim Porter's demise remains one of the most dangerous exposures tied to Diddy. If the truth came out, it wouldn't just reveal foul play, it would uncover decades of what Deal described as biological warfare. The autopsy was the smoking gun, and it had to be buried because it could have proven both poisoning and HIV.
About with Kim. They say, yo, Gene, did you see him beat Kim? I said, on that particular case, no. Have I seen him rough Kim up and use the pillow? He liked to play fight and be hurting the girls while he play fight. Have I seen him do that? Yeah, I've seen him done that. You understand? And I've asked Kim, you all right? You good? Y'all good? And she just look and stuff. He'll stop. You know what I'm saying? Because I was like a big uncle one time. So now, when he get to the hospital, his right wrist is ripped open. So, Mr. Dill, when you got to the hospital, what happened? Well, I seen his wrist ripped up. I would testify that I seen his wrist wrapped up in a t-shirt.
The deepest layer of this secret came through Jaguar Wright's explosive claims. She revealed that Diddy had contracted HIV but never stopped his lifestyle. Instead, he faced it privately while still throwing the same notorious parties. Jaguar insisted she could name other celebrities living undetectable, carrying the virus without the public knowing. For her, this wasn't carelessness, it was deliberate. This transforms the story from negligence to something far darker: biological warfare. A man knowingly HIV positive, still forcing unprotected encounters. It isn't just reckless, he's weaponizing intimacy. Jaguar went further, alleging that Young Miami, one of Diddy's closest connections, had also been infected and was now unknowingly spreading the virus even more. If these claims are true, Kim's passing wasn't just about silencing her voice, it was about covering up an operation of biological terrorism that threatened to bring down dozens of powerful names. She wasn't eliminated simply for speaking out about maltreatment, but to keep an entire infection network from being exposed, a network that could have sparked criminal charges across the industry. Insiders even say that this cover-up method wasn't new. Bad Boy Records had already perfected the art of hiding AIDS-related passing. One striking example was Craig Mack. At the time, his health issues were brushed off as a heart condition. But years later, it was confirmed he had actually lost his life from AIDS. Former label president Kirk Burroughs was among those who allegedly helped cover it up. This wasn't a one-time cover. It was a system established long before Kim's demise, designed to bury the truth and protect the brand. That's why Kim's elimination was carried out so smoothly. It wasn't the first time, and the signs after her demise were the most chilling. Within just a week, a gold casket was ordered, something that normally takes months. Diddy allegedly stationed bodyguards at the funeral home to guard Kim's body around the clock until the burial, making sure no one could view reports or raise questions about what really happened.
A lot of stuff that has been happening. Now, some people even said that her casket was ordered 2 months before she... I don't believe that, man. I swear. I'm not no conspiracy theorist or none of that. But I heard, did you hear something like that, man? That her casting, how you order a gold casting 2 months before somebody died, man?
This wasn't mourning, It was crime scene management. Innocent people don't hire armed guards to watch over the dead. The rushed arrangements, the secrecy, the constant surveillance all scream of guilt. Diddy wasn't grieving. He was terrified that the truth would be uncovered. The parallels to Craig Mack's passing are impossible to ignore. Both cases showed identical patterns of cover-ups designed to hide the true medical conditions. Together, they suggest a system at work, not coincidence. These weren't isolated tragedies. They were pieces of a calculated method. Kim Porter passed away holding a nuclear secret that could shake Hollywood to its core. For decades, Sean Combs has allegedly been infecting celebrities, models, and industry insiders through his hidden network. The question now isn't whether Kim was silenced to protect this operation, it's how many other victims are out there, unknowingly living with a criminal sentence they never saw coming. Until authorities find the courage to exhume Kim's body and perform a real autopsy, this empire of biological terror continues unchecked, thriving under the mask of entertainment, spreading darkness in private while burying the truth with its victims. Kim's remains may still hold the evidence that could save lives and expose one of the darkest secrets in music history. The only question left is, who will have the courage to finally dig up the truth?
Our body, if they're going to get the money up to dig our body back up and have a real autopsy done on there, have a real investigation on there, who's it going to hurt? I've been knowing Al for a long time. And this is in the 90s when he walked through Eddie F. house and it was about 100 degrees. Me and him, we talk about this all the time because he be laughing about it. He walked through Eddie F. He was going to Eddie F. house in a black leather suit and it was about 100 degrees outside. Al ain't no fool, bro. Al is not a fool. And he's smart by getting extra security. I don't blame him at all. If I wasn't retired, I'd probably be working for him.
Truth. So what do you think? Was Kim Porter's silence to protect secrets too powerful to survive daylight? Did she perish from pneumonia, or was her demise a carefully staged cover-up tied to an even bigger network? And how many others might still be caught in the same cycle? Drop your theories in the comments. We want to hear your take. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next bombshell could drop any moment. Until then, stay curious.